the latest episode of Star Trek Lower Decks is out. I figured I'd have the place all to myself because everyone else said, I can't review this anymore. Well, the thing is, they're still reviewing it, so I'm still amongst the crowd. Although, frankly, with Mecca saying she had to do watch it like 3 times because she kept dozing off, I was like, at that point, give up, okay? Just say, review canceled due to lack of interest on my part. But I watched it. I liked it, okay? And one of the things that Tom said about, they're trying to make Star Trek cool for the hip crowd and whatever, not in this case. With the reference after reference after reference, they're going for the hardest of the hardcore here. This isn't Rick and Morty. This is more Venture Brothers Star Trek. They're going for people who are really into it. They're trying to reestablish contact with the hardcore fan base here, and I think for the most part they're succeeding. And even the latest bunch, from Midnight, they're starting to acknowledge. Okay, this isn't quite the, but they're trying. They're adjusting the pace. It's not quite so manic. Now, these things were already filmed and taped, so it's not like they're reacting to feedback. This was done well before, so. And no, I still maintain we should not blame Alice Kurtzman for this any more than we are, I guess, blaming Kathleen Kennedy for The Mandalorian. We're acknowledging she has nothing to do with that show. Why is it so hard to acknowledge that Alice Kurtzman probably has nothing to do with Lower Decks? And again, Midnight Edge has already had talked about it. They're going to sideline as much as possible. Why is this not the case? Again, none of these stories smack of Kurtzman and his deep, dark revenge type thing. They're doing, like I said, this is more of a Venture Brothers take on Star Trek. These are not the best and the brightest. I think the simple fact that, the main character focus on this one is a guy named Fletcher, who schmoozes his way through everything and tries to take, plenty of shortcuts, but also he endangers the ship in the process here. But rather than throw him under the bus, Mariner spins a little tail, gets him promoted, and transferred off. Where does he go? The Titan. Remember who's captain of the Titan, folks? Riker. And these guys wouldn't last a week. Well, sure enough, this guy gets in the Titan. 6 days later, he's out of Starfleet. So yeah, no, these guys wouldn't make it in like the real Starfleet. Where you're actually going out and exploring things and doing dangerous stuff. On a ship like the Cerritos, where you're and this was a salvage run they were on, and it was nice to see the remains of an old animated series freighter. Like I said, the stuff had been there for 100 years, so yeah, we're talking original or at least animated series, stuff. And yeah, maybe once the other ship blew up, okay, now we can salvage what's left here. Maybe we'll see a few of those in old clamshell communicators, pop up here. Because Tandy's got to have a souvenir. But yeah, I think that we saw. Like Mariner and the one, isn't it nice? We're not fighting each other for a change, And the whole thing with the computer core going nuts, that was right out of Ultimate Computer. Richard Daystrom, putting his engrams on the thing and going nuts. Well, same basic thing here. You try and put a human brain in a computer brain, and oh my god. And Strax finally got the go-ahead to fire on the warp core, even though he couldn't. But at least, so he was trying. So, and he kissed a cat in the process. So, insert your own, licking pussy jokes in there yourself. Anyway, now, but they're pointing out they're starting to slow as they're getting more familiar with their own setting. I think so. They don't necessarily have to throw all the references at it at once. They're able to play around with their own stuff for a while, and not everything's got to be original or past reference every 2 seconds. Now it's not every 10 seconds. So it's progress, kids. It's progress. Let's go with it now. But again, I don't think it's response to fan criticism because these things would have been in the can months ago, or at least weeks ago. So, not probably months ago, because there's one thing, you got to record everything first. The animation these days is a lot faster than it used to be. You're no longer doing cell animation; it's all computerized stuff. Think of it as variations on Flash animation. I'm sure that all the CG guys out there are screaming right now, but I'm talking to the normies here that don't know the stuff. So, but it's all computerized animation now. But yeah, I'm semi-convinced that the character of Badgie was probably lifted from Gabe Kerner's fan film from back in the 90s. Really bad Star Trek, because the kind of passes for a title sequence has this Starfleet Delta with a smiley face on it, and it's pulling back and it's seeing something. You hear the zooming around, and then the smile goes away, and the starship, boom, hits it right in the forehead, and it goes to a frown and a tear, and then really bad Star Trek. If nothing else, there has been a bit of an interest out there for a sitcom-oriented Star Trek, not set on a ship like the Enterprise. His film is on the USS Ecuador, and it is, it's worse than my idea of the Eldridge. It's a patched together piece of junk. The two nacelles aren't even the same type, and it's just it's funny, but check it out sometime. It's on YouTube. But I think that's where they got Badgie from. The thing's been out there for 20 years, and again, it's a fan film, therefore technically CBS already owns it, so you really can't say they stole it. It's like Vic Mignogna talking about making continues canon. They legally wouldn't have to pay him a penny. They could take the episodes as they are right now, put them on CBS All Access, and he wouldn't see a cent of it. And he'd actually be fine with that. Just having it in there on the record, yes, that's all we wanted. It'd be nice if they paid him something, but again, they don't legally have to, because they already technically own it. So, and technically they would already own Gabe Kerner's little, smiley face badge, who we now know as Badgie. So, now, yeah, normally to save power, they just would have shut down the holodeck. But again, this is not the Enterprise. And also remember that they, the guys earlier were messing around with computer cores and stuff. And one of the things that Fletcher may have screwed up is the holodeck systems. So, take that into account. He certainly screwed up the shields. But, again, we got to get out of this mindset. This ain't the Enterprise. This ain't the Enterprise crew. Okay? And again, the closest you're going to get that is the Titan, where you got Will Riker in command of the thing. He'd be maintaining the same standards as the Enterprise, and this guy's out 6 days later. Not just busted away, he's out of Starfleet. I got fired! Yeah, now he's Earth's problem, which means he's booted out completely. So yeah, minds are slowly starting to at least less hostile, I think. I won't say more people are starting to like it, but they're starting to hate it less. And, again, progress is slow progress is still progress. And I think if you go, anyway, people like Mecca who hate animation anyway, who doesn't even like Venture Brothers, so it's not important. I'm not even gonna try and convert her. It'd be a waste of time. But I think, eventually they'd come back around to this and watch. Okay, this wasn't quite as bad as I remember. And especially, there's a question posed: what would happen if they finally did fire Kurtzman? And I put in the chat on the thing that I think if Kurtzman's fired and gone, I think all his cronies would go with him. They would keep Lower Decks going for the sake of, for the sake of maintaining brand awareness. Make sure there's still something out there. You don't have another dead pair where there's no Star Trek at all. And they would keep that going until they got somebody else in to hand over, to take over the live action, part of the thing. Hopefully, Seth MacFarlane or someone at least of that awareness, and competency. But like I said, I look at it like we don't blame Kathleen Kennedy for The Mandalorian, therefore we have no real reason to blame Alex Kurtzman for Lower Decks. They've sidelined her over there, which is probably a hell of a lot harder to do than CBS. Again, I point to Minutes Edge's own reporting, where they're saying that they were going to sideline Alex Kurtzman as much as possible. And there's plenty of evidence showing that this is what is happening with lower decks. Just looking at the damn stories. None of them line up with Kurtzman's typical crap, where everything's dark, depressing, someone's got pissed off an agenda with whatever. And no, Mariner is not Mikey Spock 2.0. Let's just stop that right now. All right? Just the fact that she does get screwed up. She gets yelled at. She's not on her way to a fast track to command, and that's perfectly fine with her. She's happy down the lower decks. You can see him coming at you at the lower decks. You know where your friends are at the lower decks. And the fate of the ship is not hanging on your next move usually. At least not to the same extent as say the command, the first officer or captain. But I think it also kind of shows the bridge doesn't necessarily know what's going on down below. Okay, they're fighting some computerized octopus thing down deck 11, and they're going, what's going on with the court? A little bit of chaos. And I suspect we'll probably see Badgie again, although hopefully in a less hostile environment. But I thought it was kind of rather intense. They got to the Bajoran market, and the next Badgie's ripping the heads off of Majorans. It's like, oh my god, I'm gonna wear your skins.
Funny part is he's so cute.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut your throat and bathe in your blood.
And he's so cute.
Yeah. But yeah. But I say, those of you who think, stop equating, Kurtzman's name is only there for the contract, okay? He gets paid, and then he goes back to doing whatever he's doing over there with Clarice and, Discovery Season 3. It's just McMahon and his writers. None of the Discovery writers, none of the Picard writers. And, everything gets subverted for the agenda and everything else. All right. Tell me what was the agenda item in this week's episode. Or in any previous Lower Decks episode. Nobody's pushing any agenda here. So let's just, get off of that little red herring. And again, I'm just saying take the show as it is. Like it, don't like it, but let's not crucify it for the sins of Alex Kurtzman and his idiots. All right? All right. With that, PayPal, Patreon, Subscribe Star, down below, and we will talk at you later.